Hello, welcome to this week's edition of the Warriors Talk Report. I'm Tim Bontemps, ESPN senior writer in New York, where the Warriors played the Brooklyn Nets Monday. This is Tuesday afternoon Eastern time, and in, I believe, the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, we've got ESPN senior writer Anthony Slater on hand to see his favorite team, the Sacramento Kings, play
Clippers
the LA
too.
Clippers.
Right out there, Kawhi the other night might have been the story of the league for 20 minutes or so.
Certainly was, man. Career high
Yeah.
55. The Clippers have won 4 in a row. One of the more interesting stories in the league. We'll see if they make it 5 in a row tonight against the Kings. Who've had a couple brief moments of happiness of late. Couple.
Not the other night when I was in crypto. I think they're down 30 at one point. Lucas
Yeah,
Schroeder, it got weird, a lot of stuff.
there
But
was a lot of stuff, but we are not here to talk about the Kings right now. Here to talk about the Warriors, who, as they often have this season, have had an interesting 48 hours. They look like they're on their way to a fourth straight win in Toronto on Sunday afternoon. And then, as they have plenty of times this season, they completely collapsed down the stretch. End up losing that game in pretty desultory fashion in overtime when they got pretty heavily outscored in overtime. Don't see many teams give up 19 or 20 points in a 5-minute overtime like the Warriors did. And then they look like an old team for large stretches of Monday's game against the Nets, but they pull it out in the end. They get to celebrate Chris DeMarco's final game on the sidelines after 14 years with the franchise, which we'll get to in a bit. But Slater, we haven't done this in a minute because of the holiday last week, but the Warriors are 4-1 in their last 5 games.
yeah.
They've gotten off to a decent start in this pivotal 19-game stretch we've talked about. Sort of where are you at stock-wise on where the Warriors sit as we approach the start of the new year?
Yeah, I mean, you can expand it out. I'd say if you like 10-game sample, the last 10, I believe they're 10th in offense, which is about their ceiling, which is crazy to say, right, with Steph, but they're not going to just explode into a top five offense. But 10th is great, right? It gets them to 20th on the season, which is not great, but sixth in defense over that stretch. They're third for the season. Like they're playing good, winning basketball over now. It's a relatively elongated stretch, and it would feel a lot better if they could just avoid these collapses that you mentioned in Toronto. Like they should be 2-0 on this road trip after a 3-0 homestand. But they have a lot of games this season that me and you have talked about, like, how did they lose that? How did they find a way to lose? How many games this season do they have that was like, how did they find a way to win that one? How did they steal that game? And I think that's why their record feels probably worse than maybe we feel about them as a product right now, because they're just giving away games that they're not getting back elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the only two that I can think of that really feel that way are those two games in San Antonio, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that early season game against Denver. But other than that, like, there are a lot of nights, like the Milwaukee and Indy games we've talked about ad nauseum, that Toronto game, where you just look at it and go, you can't afford to give these games away, especially in the West. But they have started to show some signs. They did take care of business on that homestand. I do think the 20th in offense is interesting for the season. Like you said, their ceiling is around
Yeah.
10th. Do you like what would you attribute the fact that they're that low? Like to see the Warriors at 20th in offense is a pretty jarring thing. As you said, with Steph still playing at a
Yeah.
pretty high level. What would you sort of
Well,
attribute
I
that
mean,
to?
Steph on the court versus Steph off the court. I mean, they've cratered. Steph's missed a relative amount of games, so there's more minutes than they'd like of Steph off the court. In those minutes, it's 30th in the league, right? I mean, I don't know if you have it in front of you,
I'm
but
pulling it up right now. So when
yeah,
Steph Curry plays, the Warriors have a 117 offensive rating, which is good, but not great.
spectacular.
I
Yeah,
mean, that is to your point about their ceiling. So the Warriors, that would be what, seventh?
yeah.
That'd be tied for the Lakers essentially for the seventh best offense in the league, which is
And when he's off the floor,
good.
yeah. When he's off the floor, and again, like I don't know if you have the minute total there. It's a pretty
Well,
good
right.
chunk of minutes.
So that's so in 766 minutes in 24 games. So he's played, he's missed what, 9 games?
9, yeah, I believe 9.
Yeah, he's missed 9 games. So in 24 games, playing around, little over 30 minutes a game, 31, 32 minutes a game. The Warriors have a 117 offensive rating, a 115 defensive rating, +2 net rating. When Steph's off the court, they have actually a +2 net rating. However, the offense and defense, to your point, both plummet by 10 whole points, which I do think speaks to somewhat. I mean, I think that's probably a little unfair to Steph's defense and probably a little unfair to his impact on offense at this point.
Yeah, I'll give you an example because you were at least one of these games. Remember when he wasn't on the Philly Cleveland road trip? Like they won the Cleveland game and were competitive-ish in the Philly game.
And did he play in Chicago? They won in Chicago.
No, he didn't.
Play
and they won in Chicago,
right?
And they held all three like under 100. Like it was these like nine. I think the Cleveland final score was like 99-94 or something like that. So they have had these moments. They've had these moments without Steph that they've actually like survived when he's been missing. But if we're just talking about offensive production, I think this speaks to what they do not have in the moments that Steph's off the floor. Although I think some of those lineups lately have been a little bit better. Butler's, I think, being a little bit more forceful. The coaching staff seems to be more purposeful with the lineup combinations and play calls, whatever you want to say. But also, like, again, it's like roster talent issues, some of the turnover issues, Draymond's season, some of the the shooting numbers, just a lot of the role guys are not that great. Quentin Post is getting a lot up, and the volume has been good from a 7-footer, but I think he was 41-ish% as a rookie. He's like 34-ish% in his second season. D'Anthony Melton's interesting because to me, D'Anthony Melton looks like he is feeling good coming off the knee, right? He's moving around pretty good, but 5 of 33 from three. I think he's at 15% in his limited sample. And we can go down the list. Moody's had these, hot and cold streaks. And Al Horford, who we can get to, I think he's showing some signs, but over the course of the season, which we're talking about, like there just hasn't been enough offensive help and shooting and everything else around Steph. So yeah, ceiling to me feels what you said. With him playing the way he is, that's still the 7th best offense, only in his minutes.
Yeah, no, and I think you're right. I think somewhere in the back half of the top 10 is probably a reasonable expectation. And like you said, Melton, we're going to talk about Melton. In fact, let's just talk about Melton now. So, like you said, he is 5'4", 33, as you said, on the year, shooting 15%. However, in this game on Monday night, plays the second half of the back-to-back. He plays 21 minutes. Actually, yeah, he plays 24 minutes, I should say. Yeah. 10 points, 8 rebounds.
High. Yeah.
Well, I'm getting to that. It was a season high. Yeah, well, there you go. You're jumping the lead. He actually played 24 minutes also on Christmas against the Mavs. But Steve Kerr said after the game that the new minutes limit is 24 minutes, and he's plus 26 in 24 minutes in Monday night's game. And
welcome on Warriors Nation News. We're breaking down one of the most talked about NBA trade proposals that could reshape the future of the Golden State Warriors. This isn't just another rumor. This is a scenario that puts history, identity, timing, and strategy all on the table. The proposal is bold, emotional, controversial, and yes, it has real logic behind it. At the center of this is a potential reunion with Klay Thompson, one of the greatest shooters in franchise history, and the departure of Jonathan Kuminga, whose time in Golden State has been filled with promise, frustration, and unanswered questions. Let's set the scene first. The 2025-26 Warriors have been good at times, electrifying at others, but inconsistent overall. The team's star core, Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, still has championship DNA, still plays at a high level, and still leads this franchise with urgency and intensity. But the supporting cast hasn't always delivered the consistency needed to contend with the elite teams in the league. That has left Golden State searching for structural balance, not a total overhaul, but a retool that preserves championship contention while fixing glaring fit problems. And this trade proposal is precisely born out of that strategic thinking. According to the most recent reports and analysis from credible outlets, front office minds in both Golden State and Dallas have identified a potential swap that could benefit both franchises based on where they stand right now. The Dallas Mavericks, who have shifted direction to build around their young star Cooper Flagg, could use the explosive athletic upside of Jonathan Kuminga and the shooting of Buddy Hield to match their timeline. Meanwhile, the Warriors could get back two pieces that would make them more structurally sound: Klay Thompson, a proven shooter and championship engine, and Daniel Gafford, a younger, vertical athlete who brings rim protection, rebounding, and paint finishing that this team has lacked consistently. Reports indicate that the salary matching works under tax team matching rules, making the proposal feasible from a league standpoint, even with both teams deep into the tax apron. Think about what that means for a moment. Klay Thompson, a Warriors legend, a four-time NBA champion, and one half of the Splash Brothers alongside Curry, returning to the Bay. That alone is enough to send chills through Dub Nation. Thompson, even at 35 years old, remains a potent three-point threat and a floor-spacing specialist who elevates any offense simply by occupying defensive attention. His familiarity with the Kerr system and his elite off-ball movement mean he could slide right back into a rotation built around Curry and Butler without missing a step. And more than that, he brings championship leadership, poise, and identity, intangible qualities that matter most when the games are tight and the pressure is high. Then pair that with Daniel Gafford, a big who has shown he can protect the rim, rebound effectively, and finish around the basket with authority. Gafford averages solid numbers and represents the type of athletic interior presence the Warriors have been lacking. In a season where Golden State has sometimes relied too heavily on small ball lineups and perimeter scoring, having Gafford provides a true center who can anchor the paint defensively and give Curry and Butler more space and breathing room on offense. In today's NBA, spacing is everything, but so is having that interior deterrent that can change how teams attack you. On the other side, Dallas gets Jonathan Kuminga, a 23-year-old wing with sky-high physical tools, two-way potential, and a young contract that gives them flexibility. Kuminga has had flashes of brilliance in Golden State, 20-plus point games, explosive athletic plays, but he's also had a rocky fit within the rotation. Multiple reports have chronicled inconsistencies, fluctuating minutes, and tension around his role. In the 2025 playoffs, for example, he was bottled up into a bench rotation at times, and the narrative around his fit with a Curry-centric offense has been uneasy for some time. So by sending Kuminga to a Mavericks squad willing to give him a larger offensive canvas alongside Flag, Dallas might get the development and role clarity Kuminga needs, and the Warriors get immediate utility. Now this trade isn't without emotion, because Kuminga is still a potential all-star caliber player. His athletic gifts and two-way versatility are rare, but the Warriors now are not just looking for potential, they are looking for certainty in fit, balance, and contribution in playoff moments. And that's exactly what Thompson and Gafford bring. Let's also talk about the personal side of this. Klay Thompson has been connected to the Warriors more deeply than almost any player in franchise history. His departure in 2024 to the Mavericks was a shock at the time, but it was also driven by an opportunity and context that made sense then. Now, here he is potentially coming home at a moment when the Warriors need spacing, experience, and familiar brilliance. And to many fans, that's not just a trade, that's a narrative arc worth rooting for. From a roster construction standpoint, this deal gives Golden State what every contender needs. It balances star power with stability. Curry gets shooting depth that takes pressure off him. Butler retains his role as a tertiary playmaker and closer. Draymond continues to anchor the defense, and Thompson adds floor stretching and championship experience. Gafford gives structural stability in the paint that has been missing. Meanwhile, Kuminga and Hield going to Dallas fits that team's rebuilding timeline and gives them flexibility and upside. Critics might scream about giving up youth for veterans. They might talk about missing out on a high ceiling. But the reality of championship basketball is this: you don't win based on potential alone. You win through fit, execution, balance, and cohesion. And this trade pushes the Warriors closer to being complete rather than experimental. It's a shift from tinkering into strategic shaping of a contender. History matters too. Golden State's championship eras weren't built just on stars. They were built on role excellence. Think of Andre Iguodala's defense, Sean Livingston's mid-range calm, Harrison Barnes' early contributions, and all the plumbing behind Curry and Thompson in 2015 to 2018. Bringing back Thompson adds identity, a cultural touchstone around which the fan base rallies, and that is worth something you can't quantify in box scores. Now, Warriors Nation, let me bring this home for you. This trade proposal isn't about sabotaging futures, it's about engineering a contender. It's about saying we still believe in Steph Curry's MVP-level production. We still believe this window is open, and we're not going to inch around the edges. We're going to shape this team into one that can truly compete for the Larry O'Brien Trophy again. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Should the Warriors make this move? Is bringing back Klay Thompson and adding Daniel Gafford worth trading Jonathan Kuminga? Do you think this trade turns Golden State back into an elite contender? Drop your opinion in the comments below. Slap that like button if you're fired up about this possibility. And make sure you hit subscribe to Warriors Nation News, because we will break down every twist, every rumor, and every real trade update as this thrilling NBA season rolls forward. Let's go!